All right, we are live. But we got to let it breathe just for a moment here. People are going, wait a minute, it's not 6:15. The football priests are live? What's going on? Yeah, we like to keep you on your toes. We like to surprise you every now and again. And it looks like we're good. So, welcome in everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me is my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zach, how was your Christmas, big dog? What'd Santa Claus bring you?
The only thing I want, that's going to sound cliche. I mean, I got what I wanted materialistically wise, Chad, but my focus is on Saturday night's game between the Broncos and the Bengals, and the Broncos have to get in. That's all I really want is for them to get in. We'll see if Santa obliges.
Amen. How you feeling? I mean, we'll save it for the morning for the official predictions, Zach, for the Mile High Roundtable. It's going to publish first thing in the morning, Friday. Uh, no, both of them tonight, dude. Facebook is killing me, dude. Um, but how are you feeling about this game?
Man, like I wrote, which we'll see in the roundtable when it's published, I still believe. That sounds cliche in itself too, but I can't count this team out. They had a brutal loss last week. This game can really go either way. I do, in my heart, feel like the Broncos will pull it out, though, Chad.
All right, it's looking like, I'm sorry to do this real quick, guys, just a very brief delay. Facebook is the scourge of our lives lately. So while it doesn't look like it's going to allow us to connect again on Facebook tonight, I'm going to at least drop the YouTube stream to let people know we're live over here. Hang tight one sec, guys. All right. Back to the conversation. Just forget about it, Scott. Screw it. And you can never anticipate when they're going to do that. It's not StreamYard, I'm telling you, it's Facebook. All right. Let's talk about the main story of tonight, Zach. David McElrath, the main story of tonight. What's up, bro? Good to see you. Thank you for the super. Good evening, Broncos country. Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. God bless the USA. Hashtag 107+. Let's go, MHH for life. Buckham ×3. Broncos for life. Thank you, brother. So good to see you. We appreciate your consistency. Hope it was a great Christmas for you and yours. Sam Bam also checking in early, saying, evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas. Hate to say I'm happy the Chiefs clinched home field, but that bodes well for the Broncos to at least split the last two and get double-digit wins. Go Broncos. All right, we'll put a pin in the top story. Your answer here, because I talked a little bit about it last night in my little solo Christmas stream, but the Chiefs clinching at home, it's like we talked about on Monday, you kind of wanted to be a Chiefs fan, not Chiefs fan, but rooting for the Chiefs this week because it did kind of help the Broncos.
Yeah, I felt like I needed a shower after rooting for Kansas City yesterday, but it came at the expense of Russell Wilson, who looked very much like the Russell Wilson of old with the Broncos. So that was a little, petty-wise, a little heartwarming on Christmas Day. But they could take down Kansas City. Sam, I don't want it to be a situation where they have to win next week to get in. They lose to the Bengals and they have to beat maybe the Chiefs B squad or C squad to get in the playoffs and back in that way, because won't hear the end of it about they don't deserve it. We already saw that from Jeff Saturday, Chad. I know you wrote that story up, the clip from First Take that the former Colts coach and Colts center said that the Broncos don't deserve to get in, the Bengals do. So
that was actually Dylan. Dylan wrote that up.
Oh, was that Dylan? That was good write-up by him. But that's what I don't want to hear, and that's why I want the Broncos to take care of business on Saturday and prove that they belong, and then whatever happens against Kansas City happens.
By the way, Max, I was going to shout you out tonight, and here you are creating your own shout-out up there north of the 49th parallel. I saw your comment on the Bridge the Gap music video for In the Throws. Thank you, pal. Appreciate you, and thank you for the super. He says, evening, Broncos country. Chad, Zach, and Scott, hope you all had an awesome Xmas. Hope the team gets it done Saturday. Go Broncos. I'm feeling good. My overall, lick your finger, put it to the wind, which way is it blowing, my vibes, whatever you want to call it. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling positive vibes. I liked what Bo Nix had to say on Tuesday for his media availability and the overall big game mindset they're approaching this. I like the history. I'll do a condensed version of it. If you go of Bo Nix bouncing back and the resilience 0-2 start, bummer. Then he goes on to win 3 in a row. Then you get, knocked in the teeth by the Chargers at home. That's a setback. But then you go on another run. You beat the Saints. You beat the Panthers. Go on a nice little run. Then you get put back into a reality check, Zach, with a beat down by the Baltimore Ravens. That was their only real blowout. And Bo Nix even bounced back from that. He put the Broncos in position to win at Arrowhead, were it not for a fluke of all flukes on the last play. And then he still bounced back from that and led the Broncos on a 4-game winning streak, which came crashing to an end last week at SoFi Stadium. So if the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, I'm feeling good. Is that a guarantee for our listeners? No, but I'm feeling good about Bo Nix and company bouncing back.
Yeah, I mean, the games that you mentioned, Kansas City and the Chargers, Bo Nix wasn't the reason that the Broncos lost both those games. He actually outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that Kansas City game, and if not for Alex Forsyth forgetting how to block, they would have and should have won that game. And, he wasn't the best against the Chargers last week, but he certainly wasn't the biggest issue. And that's what I've always liked about him, even throughout the pre-draft process, going back to his college days. He has so much mettle. He has so much resiliency, as you talked about, Chad, and just maturity to overcome those losses and not dwell. We saw that with quarterbacks of old like Paxton Lynch, Drew Lock. The losses would just stack mentally and they wouldn't overcome them. Bo Nix has amnesia in the best way possible.
I agree. And the other thing is, it's a little bit, I don't want to be too hyperbolic on this because the Broncos have exceeded expectations so vastly in the year one of the Bo Nix experience. But this game, and really these last 2 games, but I'm going to keep it focused on the immediate. This game is, in a sense, a referendum on Sean Payton because, at least on his assertion, Zach, that there's something different about this team. He said that multiple times. He's also at other points said, last year's team wouldn't have won that game, or last year's team wouldn't have, emerged victorious, or wouldn't have handled that situation the same, and da-da-da. Well, that's true. We're about to find out because last year's team, Zach, this is exactly the kind of game they would have blown. Chips are down, opportunity to advance, maybe not clinch. The Broncos weren't in necessarily like a clinch situation that I can recall, but like high probability situations. Definitely like losing you're out situations. So whatever the inverted version of a clinch is. And in those situations, Zach, what happened? They came up short. So we're gonna find out if this team really is made up of something different.
And I don't want to lose too much perspective because going into the season, we had one question, and that is Bo Nix a franchise quarterback? Can the Broncos succeed with him? And, the Broncos' first winning record since 2016 points to yes for that question. So it's already a successful season despite the tough loss last week. I do feel like the Broncos will get in, but even in a worst case scenario, this was a major step forward for the franchise.
All right, Zach, this is the main story. As we say some hello, String Guy, what's up? David Youngkin, C. Chang, what's up? Thomas Boyd, William. First comment I see in the chat tonight, David Youngkin, awesome. But Zach, you had the story for us. We've got the final injury report, which shows Riley Moss is a go. But then we even heard from Sean Payton as further emphasis. What's the word?
Yeah, he's, quote, ready to go for Saturday against the Bengals after missing 3 games with that MCL sprain. And it goes beyond without saying that it's an immeasurable boost to the Broncos defense, Chad. They look completely lost without him. As you wrote, they were ranked 7th overall in passing defense. I checked earlier today. Now they're down to 18th just with the loss of Riley Moss. So they're going to be at full strength in the secondary. Hopefully we'll see more man coverage, and in a wet, windy, bad environment at Cincinnati, it's a tough ask for Riley Moss to go in there and try to shut down Jamar Chase, shut down T. Higgins, shut down that Bengals passing game. But it's so good they finally have him back on the field.
I love this. After he said, yeah, he's doing good, he'll be ready to go, he was asked, hey, talk about Riley Moss. Is it his playing style? How does he energize the defense? And he said, quote, Sean Payton on Moss, he's got an awfully competitive juice. I would say you definitely felt his absence, not just physically as a player, but also his presence. So, close quote. That's really interesting how he said felt, because I'm reminded once again, I'll paraphrase it, but when that rookie class, Sean Payton's maiden draft class, came in for rookie minicamp, everyone wants to hear from the highest pick in that class, which was Marvin Mims Jr. Um, and hey, how'd it go? Tell us about. And he's talking about Riley Moss and how he's competitive, and when he's out there on the grass with you, he definitely wants you to feel his presence. So Riley Moss, I got to tell you, Zach, he's been one of the biggest surprises for me of the 2024 season. I think he's one of the reasons why, for a vast majority of the year, we've been glazing Vance Joseph. But who would have thunk that the ultimate like execution, collective execution and outlook of this Broncos defense that climbed up the charts, number one in this, number one in that, fluctuating here and there, but number one in sacks, seventh ranked passing defense when they went into the game in which he got hurt. As you said, they've fallen now to 18. I mean, that's a difference of 109 passing yards per game when he's in. So it's going to be nice to get him back. I think it'll help, Zach. I just don't want Broncos fans pinning all their hopes on, well, we got Riley Moss back, we're going to be right as rain. It's going to take more than that. You're going to have, Joe Burrow's going to get his, Zach. So you got to be in a position as a team where you're fighting fire with fire. And it doesn't necessarily mean you got to go throw it 45 times and put up 38. But, like, you got to stay on the field, dude. You got to figure out how to extend drives and score.
Yeah, I mean, Moss is second on the team in solo tackles and interceptions. So obviously he's been a playmaker this year. Credit to VJ, credit to Jim Leonard for the work and development he's put in with Riley. He kind of is the little nucleus that makes the whole passing defense and the back end go. And again, it's going to be a tough ask, but the rain and the weather could be the great neutralizer. The Bengals will put up points. It's just a matter of, can the Broncos outscore against a really bad Bengals defense that we'll get into? Can they outscore the offense? And like, what does John Madden say? You just need more points than the other team in order to win. That's what we're looking for on Saturday.
Man, I miss that guy. R.I.P.
Yeah.
But you know what? Listen, and yeah, I see some other questions and comments and stuff. We'll get to you. But the Broncos, what's the last you heard on their underdog status going into Cincy? Is it 4? It's a modest underdog. All right. Basically, it's the equivalent of a road team. Last I looked at it, it's basically like it's a coin flip in terms of how the odds makers view this. Speaking of underdog, though, I got to find a better segue. I can find underdog, but then I got to segue better. It's smoother. I don't know. I'm not pleased with my segue here, but underdog gang is the place to play if you are a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. Join us and over 5 million fans who are already playing on underdog. With their pick'em game, you could win money by making entries with your favorite players, compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more players' stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Turn every touchdown into a win with underdog.
And with their champs game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, and much more. Like, for example, will Bo Nix have higher or lower than 231.5 passing yards on Saturday? Will Nix have higher or lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns? Every dog deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose.
That's right, guys. So download the Underdog app today. Use our code MHuddle to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the Underdog app today. Use our code MHuddle to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Every player, every touchdown. Just select higher or lower on Underdog. You're going to have some fun.
Must be 18 plus and 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
All right, we got a few things here I want to grab, including, first off, Taylor. Saturday is a must-win. Glad Riley Moss is back. MHH for life. Thank you, bro. And I would agree. It's must-win territory for this team. And yeah, Graham, I'm crying happy tears for the return of Moss. I mean, once I did an analysis on it, I mean, you could feel it. You didn't need to necessarily even, to heck with box scores, watch the tape. You could see, man, they were a different unit out there without Moss. But then once I did a little bit more digging on just how different that defense was playing without him, I'm like, ooh, baby. And the good thing too, Zach, about this fortuitous timing is they did stay patient. Now it may be, Zach, they were patient up to and exactly till the situation needed. Like maybe he just hasn't been good to go until this week. But something tells me that perhaps other squads and other, training staff might have been like, nah, let's roll him out last week. But the Broncos stayed patient. Maybe they paid the price. I don't know. But I think when Sean Payton says he's good to go, I think you're going to get a full blown, good to go Riley Moss back out there.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 3 games and the Broncos went 2-1, so it definitely could have been worse. The one they lost, they probably would have won if Riley Moss was there, but c'est la vie, what are you going to do? It's better they have him at 100%, especially with the rainy conditions on the field on Saturday, than risk him at less than 100 and, a possible re-aggravation happens. So I think the Broncos medical staff was smart for sure.
Dude, are we seeing X comments now live in the chat? Are you seeing that like from Pearl? Or is that her using like YouTube? No, that's X.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Props, Elon. Thank you for doing that. We had to go to crazy lengths before to see that. But yeah, Taylor, thank you, pal. We're glad he's back too. And we have a tectonic super chat from the Duchess, Michaela Parker, coming in off the top rope. Who's a famous wrestler that does the like off the top rope like an elbow or something? I don't know. Who? Give me one, Zach. Macho Man Randy Savage off the top. Michaela, that's where she got her form. She probably does it better. But I would say qualitatively, yes, she's better than the Macho Man Randy Savage. She's family. I hope you had a great Christmas. I hope your mom's doing well, Duchess. She says, honestly, I don't think we have the firepower to beat the Bengals. Also, our defense has been sketchy for a month now. Sean's play calling been terrible. I really wanted to make the playoffs. Well, hey, let not your heart be troubled. There is hope. Hope is kindled like Gandalf, when they light the beacons in Gondor. Hope is kindled in the form of Riley Moss's return.
Yeah, I get why you feel that way. And thank you so much, first of all, Michaela. Happy belated Christmas to you. Happy New Year coming up to you and your family. Thank you so much, as always, as per usual. The defense has been sketchy. Sean's play calling has been inconsistent pretty much since he's been the head coach of the team. That's been one of my bugaboos with him. Firepower-wise, on paper, doesn't look good for Denver, but anything can happen on any given Sunday. The weather is going to play a factor in this. I don't know that we're going to see, because of that, an optimal Bengals offense. You're going to take away at least one receiver, God willing, with PS2 locking him down. You have Riley Moss, then you have McMillian as the third corner there. So you should be able to at least kind of slow them down. And the offense, as we'll get into, the Bengals defense is just ran through. I mean, you can do whatever you want with them. They can't stop anything. A nosebleed this season. Shout out Rex Ryan. So it's going to be the onus to me, as I wrote in the roundtable, on Bo Nix to prove that they can outscore the opponent and they belong. And what better way to do that than put up, 30, 35 points on the road and on suboptimal conditions.
Well said. And here in just a few minutes, we probably won't linger too long before we're going to do the head-to-head. And you can see what we're talking about here, guys. Like, for all of the Bengals offense teaming with offensive weaponry and just the right trigger man, their defense, oh man, I almost used a perfect Mark Jensen colloquialism, but I don't think it would be perfectly okay for family-friendly MHH. But you're going to see they're at the back of the line. They're not so hot. But again, throw all that out the window, in my opinion, Zach, because seasons are on the line. You're getting that. It's just like people were sleeping on the Chargers last week. They're like, man, they got trucked by the Bucks and we trucked the Bucks. No, dude, they were like, their dander was up. The intensity level, they rose to meet the occasion because of what was at stake. The Broncos did not. They played down sort of. It was a nice start to the game, but then they let the Chargers get a little bit of momentum and they couldn't get any of it. They just couldn't wrest it back from the Chargers. So I think it was a wake-up call. I wrote an article today covering Bo Nix's comments from Tuesday about the new mindset and, listed out, as I mentioned earlier in tonight's stream, his history so far as a rookie anyway of resilience. I feel optimistic, Duchess. Now, I'm not going to promise you anything. I mean, I'm not amongst the football gods. I'm just a, lowly football priest. But I'm telling you, keep your chin up on this. The Broncos aren't trying to go quietly into that good night.
as impressive as the Bengals are, there's a reason why they're 7-8. If they were so unbeatable and so infallible, even with that defense, they'd have a better record. So teams have beaten them. The Broncos, there's a reason why they have a winning record, and we just have to see that defense kind of revert back to what they were doing best in weeks 1 through whatever it was, 13, where they were playing more man aggressive and making things happen on that side of the ball. And then you have the complimentary Bo. Hopefully can get the running game going, but Bo has not looked bad in that stretch, even with the defense regressing. Have faith, Michaela. The Broncos could surprise you on Saturday.
Yeah, sorry, Tucson Phil. My dog, Facebook is no, you won't see stars because we don't have an active live stream. We did post the YouTube, so we won't see stars there. If you left stars, we would maybe see it after the fact on a post, but sorry, dude, it's outside our control. Whatever's going on between StreamYard and Facebook's communication, it's been utterly frustrating, and we're just doing the best we can to kind of grind through it. But you know who is always right on the money? Never any connectivity issues? YouTube. I wonder why they're number one. But I wanted to grab this from Robot of Doom. He says, evening, gents. We always try to get at least one Twitch on each and every stream. And Robot says, the last time Denver clinched a playoff spot was December 28th, 2015 against the Bengals. Denver now is a good Bengals team playing without their quarterback at the time. Andy Dalton was injured, and it was that Alabama kid, AJ
McCarron.
Denver can now clinch a playoff spot. December 28th. What? Huh? My mind's going against the Bengals. Destiny has arrived, Zach.
Yeah, I tweeted about that earlier, that the last time the Broncos played Kansas City, Cincinnati with the playoffs on the line, they won 2017 on December 28th, 2015. What's even crazier is that they were coming off back then a 34-27 loss, just like they are after last week. So the parallels are there for sure. It's almost eerie how many line up here, but that's why I'm talking to Michaela and talking to Broncos country. I'm warning you against not Bo leaving. You might be pleasantly surprised come Saturday night.
Pearl apparently has a lot to complain about too with Facebook. Yeah, Scott says script writers are using reruns. But Pearl, yeah, she's had a lot of problems there. Hey, Facebook traditionally has been really good to Zach, myself, Scott, MHH. But this last, we'll say 18 months or so, they've gotten on my you-know-what list. If I were Santa Claus, they'd be on my naughty list. What's this from Graham wants to know, what's the relationship between MHH and SI? Is it a part of SI? Yes, it is. There's SI. Easiest way to understand it, my friend, is there's SI National, the Albert Breers and all that stuff. And then there's the SI Team website network, which is what MHH is. We're the Broncos site on SI.com. It's called On SI, that network. Different from Fan Nation, different from SB Nation, different from Fansided, etc. Okay, should we do the head-to-head? It is that time of the week where we take a peek here at this wonderful document provided to us by the Denver Broncos PR staff. And a lot of good info in here. We're going to go ahead and examine these two teams head-to-head. Those of you who are the regulars, green signifies a top 10. Red is bottom 10. If it's black, well, yes, Sherlock. That means middle of the pack. Broncos 9-5, Bengals 7-8. Turnover differential, both teams are in plus territory. Broncos are +6. That ties them for 9th. And the Bengals, surprisingly, for being an 8-loss team, are +4. Time of possession, they're pretty dang close to each other, although the Bengals edge them out by about 12 seconds on average. Offense. All right, let's start with what we see here about the Bengals. Zach, this is the 10th best yards offense, 6th in scoring, but they suck at running the ball. 29th rushing offense. First, however, that's offset by Joe Burrow and the passing offense. Been picked off 8 times, which is tied for 7th fewest, but they have 11 fumbles lost. Only 3 teams are worse in terms of losing fumbles. So 19 total giveaways, ranks them 18th. They've given up 37 sacks, not quite twice as much, but nearly twice as many as the Broncos. And then here's where they're making their bones. You want to know why this exists and why the points exist and why all this passing yardage? It's because of these two crucial metrics. They rank fourth to the Bengals on third down, and they rank third in the red zone. Meanwhile, Broncos offense, and hey, it was nice to see a lot more of this, Zach, populated by Green when we were looking at the Week 16 head-to-head. They did take a little bit of a step back in the grand scheme of things, so they do, however, still have a couple, 2, 3 green markers here, but this is the 22nd yards per game offense, 10th in scoring. Zach, if we would have said entering Week 17, the day after the 2024 NFL draft, if I would have told you that this would be the 10th highest scoring offense in the NFL, would you have believed it?
No.
I wouldn't either, honestly. Even with my orange colored glasses, I'd have been like, ha. Then you get to the not so great stuff. We're 19th rushing offense, 23rd passing. And a lot of that is, of course, off tilted or skewed because of how clanky the first quarter of the season was. I mean, you had one game where Bo Nix passed for 60. They're more like, 18th, 19th, maybe in reality, but statistically, it's what it is. 11 interceptions ties them for 15th, middle of the pack. Fumbles lost, they have 7, which puts them just outside the top 10 in terms of fewest. Total giveaways, 18, one behind the Bengals. Bo Nix only been sacked 22 times, third fewest amount. Third down, though, they're just not getting it done. They're barely in middle of the pack, barely staving off bottom 10. And then, Zach, another saving grace is especially the second half of this season, Sean Payton and Bo Nix's offense have been very good in the red zone.
That's another thing that if you would have told me they'd be 8th in the NFL in red zone percentage, considering how dreadful they were under Russell Wilson, I would have thought you were crazy. Talk about the Bengals for a second. You mentioned the rushing offense. Can you scroll over to the side where we have the individual stats and the players? I want to make one point real quick.
Sure.
About the Bengals running back, Chase Brown. He only started becoming a full-time starter, I think it was week 11 or week 12, and he's almost at 1,000 yards. So if he would have started all year, that rushing offense would rank much higher. It also shows how pitiful the Broncos rushing offense is when your leading rusher is double pretty much behind or have behind Chase Brown. So this is a very potent Bengals offense. They can kill you in many different ways. Chase Brown can also catch out of the backfield. He was singled out by Sean Payton earlier this week. It's going to be a tough task for the Broncos defense. That's why I was talking about earlier, and you said it as well correctly. They're going to get theirs. They're going to put up yards. They're going to put up points, and you just have to hope you can blot the damage and then do your own damage on offense.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to think Joe Burrow, with 2 more games, he'll probably finish somewhere just under 5,000 yards passing, something like that. Thinking back to Peyton Manning's 2013 season and all those yards, still a record. So amazing. But all right, there's your offense. Okay, head to head. Let's look at these defenses where the grass starts, Zach, getting a little bit greener here. Okay.
Yep, literally.
8th in yards, let's focus on Bengals. So this is the 28th ranked yards defense. Scoring, they are 14th. How can 26 points a game be 14th? But nevertheless, that's what it is, according to the Broncos PR. Rushing, they're 21st, so they're not the worst. They're far from the best. They're middle of the pack. Passing, though, they can be had. Look at this, 26th ranked passing defense. 14 interceptions, though. They are predatory. They're doing well, taking the ball away. 9 fumble recoveries. That's 8th. The interceptions ties them for 6th. Total takeaways, 23. That's only 1 fewer than the Broncos. All right. But sacks, out. You take away Trey Hendrickson, Zach. It ain't nothing to be too worried about, but you can't take him out. He's part of the equation here. 30 sacks on the season. There's only 5 teams worse than the Bengals in sacks. And they suck on third down. They suck in the red zone even worse. You look at the Broncos, 8th in yards per game, or 8th in yards defense, 3rd ranked scoring defense, 5th in rushing. That's really cool. This is something that they have improved on dramatically throughout the season for what it's worth. But this is what slipped when we were talking earlier about the absence of Riley Moss. This was 7th when he when they entered week 12, that Raider win in Vegas, they were the 7th ranked, and now they're the 18th. So interceptions, Broncos have 15. That ties them for 4th. 9 fumble recoveries, that's 8th. 24 takeaways ties them for 6th. So both these defenses, that is one of their saving graces for both, is the ability to take the ball away. But 51 sacks, Zach, that's one away from the number of sacks the 2015 world champion Broncos totaled as a team, first in the NFL currently. Third down has plummeted a little bit. They need to improve this to truly be a playoff caliber defense. But second, Zach, red zone defense.
This is why just pure stats and numbers can be deceiving, because they allowed 500 yards of Jameis Winston in the first half. They were picked apart by Anthony Richardson. Then they were totally dissected by Herbert last week. But no really complaints, all that green you're seeing there. I think the passing yards per game will come down with Riley Moss back, and hopefully they can tighten up on third down. But to focus on the Bengals for a second, it looks like when they're not taking the ball away, they literally can't do anything else right. They can't get off the field. They can't stop you in the red zone. They can't stop you, your passing attack. They can't stop you overall. So I hate to put a lot of pressure on Bo in what could be, again, a rainy, windy situation in Cincinnati. But if they don't put serious points on the board and come out looking like they did in the first half against the Chargers, then there might be a little problem there.
Yes, I predict it. That's one of the crystal ball factors here. You need another fast start game. And this time you can't then rest on your laurels. You can't go, oh, look at us. We scored on our first 3 possessions. Let's turn it down. You can't do that.
Foot on gas.
This is Joe Burrow. All right, special teams. Let's just look at the notables here. Gross punting and net punting, the Bengals are in the top 10. They're also top 10 in covering kickoffs, first, in fact. Meanwhile, they are not so hot, Zach, in field goal percentage. They're in the 74th percentile. That's 28th. They're not so hot at covering punts, Zach, which plays into our hands with Marvin Mims, who's ranked first.
Yep.
Middle of the pack in our gross punting. Let's see, 9th in kickoff. Our coverage is pretty dang good too. But theirs is even better on at least the number of bites at the apple they've had with kick returners. And then Will Lutz has been reliable. I mean, you take out that KC game, he's missed 1 field goal, or am I maybe forgetting one? But either way, it's that KC game where he missed one that was super long. Do you remember how long it was? I don't remember for sure, but it was a longie. It was a longie, and then of course the block kick counts against him. So interesting stuff there on specials, Zach, and then penalties. The Broncos. I'm surprised to see kind of fall to 17th and 18th here when they've been leads in both all season long, and it just felt like the flags were falling like snow, like Christmas Day snow, Zach, against the Chargers. 11th are the Bengals, the 11th most penalized team, etc. So there you have it. Any thoughts here?
I feel a little vindicated on Riley Dixon. I was eating a lot of crow when he was ranking in the top 10 or whatever, and now I feel like I want to regurgitate that crow because 17th and 13th is really not going to cut it too well. I'm not sure also what happened to the Bengals kicker, who was money for the past couple seasons, and like Tucker in Baltimore, he seems to have fallen off. Penalties are the penalties. I say it every week. It seems like the refs just target the Broncos more than their opponent. I think that's going to be the case for as long as Sean Payton's the head coach. Sad to say.
A couple things I just wanted to opine on from our little statistical head-to-heads. Bonito's chasing Hendrickson for the sack title, for the sack crown. Right now, he's 2 full sacks behind Hendrickson. Bo Nix is a tough sack. Block this guy. That was one of Luke Patterson's keys to victory today. I agree with him. You got to stop the Bengals' one-man wrecking crew. If you can sell out to stop Hendrickson, this is butter. All right. They're going to fold like a chair. Trust. So just take this dude out of the game. Meanwhile, Bonito, go get this guy. Go get your 2 sacks and tie him. And then you both get next week to decide who's the champion. All right. But I also wanted to focus right here, Zach, how close Courtland Sutton is to 1,000, which will be his second 1,000-yard season. He's got 2 games, Zach, to get 72 yards receiving to break the plane, so to speak. Do you see it happening against the Bengals?
Yeah, just for the reasons I talked about earlier. It could be even, again, I hate to keep hammering this point, but even in rain and suboptimal conditions, you got to throw the ball down the field. You can't play in a phone booth. You can't play east and west horizontal football. If I was Bo Nix, I'm throwing it to Cortland Sutton and saying, YOLO, see what happens.
All right, guys. There's your head-to-head. Hope you enjoyed it. We always have fun looking at the head-to-head. Oh, my goodness gracious. We got Ren99 jumping in with a generous top rope super chat. Bro, thank you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and a preemptive Happy New Year. Thank you, pal. Oh, I thought that was a plane at first, the way that the paint job is shaped on his profile pic, Zach. Because see how the hood's dark?
Yeah.
For a second, my mind's eye was like, oh, that's a plane. No, it's just a Radley painted car. I don't know what kind of car it is, but Radley. Little late, says Ren, to the party, but seen a stat that said the last time we clinched the playoffs, we played the Bengals on the exact same day we play them this year, and we were coming off a 34-27 loss, and it was the second to last game of the season. Bo leave, go Broncos, Broncos for life. Yes, indeed. Isn't that interesting, Ren? It is interesting, Zach. Pastor's prologue, that's another one of the little cliches you can throw in there. I like this one better because it was a maxim that was taught to me by one of my mentors in life. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So the best predictor of the future is the past, is another way of saying that. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's total serendipity to me, the way it's lining up. I think Scott had the line of the night when he said the script writers are using reruns now, like the material is getting kind of stale. But you can't rest on that. You can't rest on anything. You have to play the game on Saturday, and got to come out on top. It's going to be a dogfight.
Does this prove, Zach, that we're living in a simulation?
Maybe.
Okay, bro, Ren, dude, so good to see you. Better that we see you at the 11th hour, which it's not quite that, but than not see you at all. And again, thank you for the super chat. Goes a long way toward helping us keep the lights on. Trust. Thank you, pal. What up, Fat Sertan? No, not Pat Sertan. This is Fat Sertan, his overweight alter ego. Great to see you. Okay, what's Michaela saying? Dream on, string guy. Who, by the way, our friend here, string guy, says maybe Peyton's play calling isn't as bad as some people think. Zach, not to miff our good friend the Duchess, but I don't think it's as bad as some people think. I think it has been that bad at times, but there's other times where I go, whoa, man, that's what it feels like to have a competent offensive play caller, and a guy who, it's interesting because he gets credited as being, Zach, a Parcells, off the Parcells coaching tree, which is true, but he's actually first off like the Gruden coaching tree more so, but you can't assert it as confidently because it wasn't under Gruden a head coach. It was under Gruden a coordinator in Philly.
Yeah, I liken Peyton's play calling to Vance Joseph's defense. It's great until it's not. I even tweeted that against the Chargers. I was lauding Sean Payton for his play calling. I said, I give him a ton of crap every week, but he's been fantastic tonight. And then what happens in the second half? They couldn't have looked worse. It was the total antithesis of looking fantastic. I just think Sean Payton outsmarts himself sometimes. He galaxy brains himself at times and tries to force Bo on a defense necessarily where he shouldn't be forced and prove that, oh, he's the guy. He shouldn't have been, the 12th overall pick, this and that. I just feel like ego and a little bit of, I don't know what's the word, Chad, being stuck in the past. I think that haunts Peyton a little bit. He thinks it's 2006 with Drew Brees. Not so much anymore.
Yeah, but he's got a bigger and even stronger guy, quarterback, that can do a lot of the same stuff.
Is that the God King?
One of our OG legends checking in on YouTube, Mark from Georgia. What is up, dude? How was Christmas? Give our best to the fam and the missus. Hope it was a great holiday season. And, of course, always great to hear from you, big dog.
Good to see you, Mark. Hope everything is well. Appreciate you chiming in.
Robot of Doom, running back, receiver, tight end. What would you guys rather Denver draft in round 1, Zach?
Yes. That's literally my answer. The best player available, whoever Sean Payton wants and George Payton agrees to, coming together on that decision. They just need weapons for Bo Nix. I do like Warren, the tight end, in the back half of the first round. I don't think they're going to get Ashton, the running back. He's going to go too high. Receiver, you can maybe wait until the second or trade up maybe, I don't know, but they just need to make it an emphasis. I don't want a cornerback. I don't want a defensive lineman. I just want weapons and a supporting cast for Bo Nix.
I don't want a running back round one, but best receiver, best tight end, either or. We need to keep building that nest. Yes, string guy. Tyler Bidet, in case you guys missed last night's Christmas stream, they started his clock off of injured reserve. So he's not activated yet. Could come tomorrow. I doubt it. I'm guessing it comes in time for the season finale. But, Zach, he's been on IR with a back injury since week 4, since the Jets game, right? So he's got a little rust to shake off. He's obviously healthy. That's one thing you can count on with this Sean Payton staff is they don't come back till they're healthy. They don't play anyway till they're healthy. So, yeah, if the Broncos – no. That's a loser mentality. When the Broncos make the playoffs, Zach, it's going to be handy to have one extra horse in the stable, so to speak. And they also signed Blake Watson, the rookie running back, from the practice squad to the active roster, creating an opening on the practice squad that could – I don't know. What have you heard about Levi Wallace?
He cleared waivers, and the Broncos want him back to the practice squad, so we'll see what happens there. I can't say I'm sad that he's gone, Chad, just for the juju alone from that Cleveland game. With Bidet, I feel like we spoke that into existence because on the last pod we were talking about we haven't heard anything on his back injury. What's the severity of it? We were speculating it's an internal injury, so I'm very happy for him that he's back out there practicing fully. And when he comes back, he should contribute, but it muddies an already muddied backfield. It's another guy, and are you going to make it work?
As the Duchess says here, we don't have a running game because Peyton insists on playing Pookie, a.k.a. what his parents named him, Javonte Williams. And yes, it's really bizarre how much comfort and just confidence, Zach, Javonte Williams obviously gives Sean Payton. For some reason, I'm blanking on the running backs coach off the top of my head.
Oh, Iene?
Thank you. Now, that's usually coaches, coordinators, and coaches like Peyton who call their offensive plays, head coach. They're very reliant, Zach, on the rotation that their position coach calls for. But at any point, Peyton can step in and be like on the mic, right? On the headset, he's going, yo, hey, I need more Estime, or I need more Watson. We'll save Pookie for third down. Really, save him for third down. Seriously, because you can trust him to pick up the blitz. You can trust him to catch a pass out of the backfield. You can even catch him to maybe do something with a screen or something. But on first and second down, you start then, Zach, getting into the territory of telegraphing what you're going to do. Like if Pookie's not on the field, they're running it. If he's on the field, they're passing. So there's a balance to these things. And that's why it's not easy for a head coach or play caller, Zach, to do just that and balance it.
That's what I was going to say. If he comes in only on third down, it's going to tip to the opponents that he's coming in to pass block, and it's going to be a passing play. But I don't understand why they can't try. It reminds me of Philip Lindsay. They wouldn't play him because he supposedly couldn't catch, but you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Why can't Estime try his hand at pass pro? Why can't they chip or have an extra tight end? Why do they sacrificing their running game for one trait from a broken down, I hate to say it, I think he's a little washed, running back? So it's a Peyton thing for sure, and being stubborn like I talked about earlier. I just don't think they have the talent. Again, a guy coming off reconstructive knee surgery, a middle round pick, undrafted free agents, you need that elite blue chipper in there. To go back to the previous question, I would not mind a running back in round 1.
Holy smokes, we've got our good friend and OG Mount Rushmore superstar, Dale D-Dub from across the beautiful Pacific, with a very generous top rope super chat. Merry Christmas, bro. Hope it was a wonderful holiday season, or has been a wonderful holiday season for you and your family. Thank you so much, brother. He says, hope we can start the year with a playoff game. Defense. Hoping the defense mixes zone and man with some ruffles blitz-wise. We suck at zone, but we do need to mix it up. See what kind of response we get. Make adjustments. We need to hit Burrow. Pass rush needs to play big. Broncos for life. Bro, love you so much. Thank you, Dale. Seriously. We don't take it for granted, man. Thank you. It means a lot. especially families coming out of Christmas. I mean, speaking for myself, I know what our household spent being Santa Claus, so to speak. You know what I mean? So thank you, bro. It means the world to us. And it's interesting, Zach, because we've been harping on, they got to stay away from zone. They got to get back to doing what they do best, and that's man. But we're not talking in absolutes. I agree here with Dale. And I have a lot more confidence, Zach, that if we do play a little bit of zone, right, to throw things off with Burrow, now you have the horses to execute it better. For whatever reason, when Moss went out, the communication, that was a big chink in the armor, a big weak spot. And I was watching today for craps and giggles while I was working. I watched a few 30 for 30s reruns on Disney because, if you have an ESPN Plus, then you get Disney. Or if you have a Disney Plus, you get ESPN. So anyway, I have both. I'm watching one on the Bills, Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells. And there's this one scene where they were going into one of the NFC title games back Giants. It was Belichick and Parcells with the Giants, 80s and early 90s. Anyway, where I'm sorry, it wasn't Giants. Fast forward, it was when they were both with the Patriots. And they were going against, might have been the Jets, doesn't matter, AFC. But Zach, they're going into the playoffs, and they were facing a run and shoot Houston Oilers offense in the playoffs. And that he wanted to, Parcells was like, run zone. And he said, Belichick said, if we play zone, they're going to kill us. And he convinced Parcells to rubber stamp him playing man, and they snuffed him out. So, but there are balances in all things.
Thank you so much, Dale, first and foremost. Hope you had a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year coming up. You are the man, the legend. Thank you again. I think it's a very smart point that you talked about, something that we harped on a little coming off that Chargers game. The cover, the chicken or the egg, the coverage doesn't matter that much if you can get to the quarterback and sack him before he gets the ball off, or hit him, or throw him off his mark. We saw a non-existent pass rush. They had 2 sacks against Herbert. Now, I understand that they have 2 really good tackles out there in Los Angeles. Cincinnati doesn't have that, but still, the onus is on Benito. The onus is on Jonathan Cooper, Jonah Ellis, the front 4, JFM, Zach Allen. You're right 100% here with this point. You got to throw the timing-based Cincinnati offense off its mark, get to Burrow, rattle him, and make sure you get him to the ground, because as we saw last week, he was about this much off the ground, Chad. He still threw a touchdown to T. Higgins. So hit him early, hit him often. No quarterback is immune to that.
By the way, it wasn't AFC. Now that I remember it, it was actually that first Buffalo Super Bowl where it was wide right, Scott Norwood. It was that game. He said, hey, if we line up against this, what do they call it? The K shoot offense, whatever. It was their version of the no huddle run and shoot. K for Kelly, the K shoot or whatever. We're going to get torched, and we got to run man. And they were able to. And that was on a Bills offense that was kind of like Zach Howe, real quick. The Broncos going into Super Bowl 50, everyone was thinking it was going to be the Panthers because they were just blowing everybody out with offensive production throughout the playoffs, right? They destroyed all comers by multiple scores. It was offensive fireworks. Similar, that's how it was with Buffalo that year. They were just blowing everybody out, including the AFC Championship game. And a smart defensive coach seeing a theme and seeing how they can counterpunch and whatnot was a huge difference. So we just need to see that kind of savvy. All right, can you expect Joseph to deliver you a Belichick kind of chess performance? Maybe that's asking too much. He's arguably the greatest head coach and, one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. But that's what you need, Dale. I'm with you. You got to mix things up. You got to be smart. You got to make adjustments. You can't wait too long to make your adjustments. And get after Joe Burrow.
No way saying that you can't rattle Burrow. I disagree. I watched him in the Super Bowl against the Rams, and he looked awfully rattled that game. I know they had Aaron Donald. The Rams defense was good that year, but it shows that it can happen. No quarterback is impervious to pressure. And if you get him to the ground enough, you'll slow down that offense. Slow down, not stop. That's the difference here, is hope to contain and not totally suffocate. That's what the Broncos have to aim for.
That's interesting that you bring up the Super Bowl, because there is a common theme there, and that is Vance being a acolyte of Wade Phillips. Scheme-wise, they're playing in the same sandbox, right? So hopefully that's something that has been discovered in the preparation. The Broncos have had, by the time they play, Zach, they'll have had 9 days to prepare for the Bengals. I would like to believe they're smart enough to go, hey, remember what Wade did? What Wade do in that Super Bowl?
I know they had a bad offensive line that year, but they collapsed the pocket. He couldn't step up, and they did the best to blanket the receivers that day. And again, it's a tough order, but you got to at least try to slow him down. If you could slow him down, you have a definite chance to win. That's why they're 7-8, Chad, and not, undefeated, or what the Chiefs are right now.
All right, let's here's your last call, guys, for any burning questions, topics. Get them in the chat, supers. We got a few messages for you. Then we'll take one last look at the chat before we dip. But boy, oh boy, 50 minutes has just blown on by.
Yeah, it's another tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com. Get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Pods, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important that you subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Amen to that. A mile high salute and a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, helping us keep the lights on. And just another shout to Pearl. We've been keeping you and your family and your hubby in our thoughts and prayers. Hope he recovers quickly. Hope you had a good Christmas. Joseph, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah as well. God bless indeed. But a special shout out to these great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, like the Duchess. Love you, Michaela. Like D-Dub. Love you, bro. In Hawaii, just soaking in the sun. I love it. Ren, thank you, pal. The Papa Bear, David McElrath, Sam Bam, Max Rio, Taylor Christensen. And of course, because we're cut off from Facebook this evening anyway, we weren't able to connect, some problems. We weren't able to give specific shouts there, but I saw Tucson Phil. I saw Phil in the chat, so I'm giving you a shout, bro. And I don't know if we saw the Ronk tonight or what's up, but everyone, we know who it is. We know who the Facebook players are, but thank you guys. Appreciate you so much. And we'll see how it shakes out. First thing in the morning, you're going to see the Mile High Roundtable, Zach and my and Scott's official prediction for Broncos Bengals. Scott is still leading the pack. What is it? 2 you've gotten wrong, Scott? 3? So he's 14-3, I think, right? Or I mean, sorry, 12-3. 12-3. Anyway, look for that first thing. Zach and I, we will be back in the saddle Thursday, immediately following the game for the gut reaction. And then don't forget the Dove Valley Deep Diver dudes tomorrow night, Friday night. They're going to have a great show ready for you. So love you guys. Hope you had a great holiday week and can't wait to see you after the game on Saturday, which, again, I'm feeling positive vibes here.
So have a great start to your weekend, everyone. We'll see you for the gut after the game. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.